Okay, let's go.
What's going on, YouTube? Man, I hope y'all can hear me. I know it's real windy out here. We're currently getting unloaded, so if you got a lot of noise in the background, my apologies. But man, I just want to welcome y'all. This is actually my first video that I'm making. I decided to jump off into the YouTube space. Don't know how this is gonna go, but we're just gonna go with it. The purpose of my channel, man, is I've been trucking since 2015. I've learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, and now, man, I just want to share it with y'all, and hopefully it can help y'all on y'all's journey. Little background about me. As I say, I started trucking back in 2015. I actually spent $180 getting my CDL. Now, like I said, that was 2015. I don't know if that's still the same to this day. Probably it's changed, probably isn't. But I can tell you how I got mine. And if it's something that's still going on, it might be something that you can look into. It might be something that can help you and to get your CDL. Because I didn't want to go to a mega carrier because I didn't want to feel tied down to drive them for a year to pay back my schooling, which is a good thing because it also helps you to get your experience up. There's a lot of companies you go to because of insurance purposes, they want you to have at least a year driving experience. But I kind of went the hard route, but in the long run it benefited me more. But how I got mine is I actually went through a CDL school that we had back where I'm from. Originally, I'm from Alabama. Currently, I'm not living in Alabama, but that's where I was from. That's where I got my CDL from. But I went to the unemployment office. And the unemployment office actually had a program for low-income people. I was low income. I was broke. I ain't had no money. So I went to the unemployment office and they had this program that will put you in school, state funded. The state will pay for the schooling. You just had to pay for your drug test and you had to pay for your license once you finished the program. So that's how I got my CDL. Went to CDL school. I think it was a 6-week course. And that was it. But we'll get into that in future videos, how I made that happen. How I actually was able to get my first job driving a truck without any over-the-road experience at all. I think my apartment's almost full. But that's how I did it. Hold on, let me switch compartments. I'll be right back. We left this bin open, so now we gotta walk back down here. Let's make sure they're unloading. The floor's on. Nope, they're putting the floor on. There we go. Now we're running both, so we should be good. Let's go close this bin while that compartment unloads. Maybe this walk will be a little bit quieter. Like I said, I currently live in Oklahoma, so man, the wind is crazy out here. But back to what I was saying. So got my CDL back in 2015. I didn't go over the road. I actually got my first job locally without having to go over the road. Now that doesn't always happen because a lot of companies, due to their insurance, want you to have, you know, at least a year driving experience. I just so happened to look up, kept doing my research, looking around, and found a small local construction company that owned a bunch of tracks or dump trucks, but they also had a lowboy. The lowboy is what they use to move their equipment around, their excavators, bulldozers, stuff like that. It's a Class A vehicle. Their insurance would allow me to drive that without having any experience. So that's how I got on. I got in driving the lowboy, moving their equipment around. Even though it was local, it's still considered Class A CDL experience. So you can take that and take it somewhere else. So that's what opened up the door to other CDL jobs for me, was doing that. So I did that for like a year, left there after I got my year experience, and went to hauling automotive steel for Kia and Hyundai. Did that for a year or two, went back to my first job, hauling heavy equipment, which is a pretty fun job. You get to play around with the bulldozer excavators, load them up yourself. I mean, I actually had a blast doing that. Went back to doing that for a year or two, and then I moved to Oklahoma. When I moved to Oklahoma, I became a beer delivery guy. Did that for like, what, 4 years. Left there, went to Ryder. Drove for Ryder for about a year. And then at that point, I was ready to get my own truck. So I decided to get my own truck and jump into the owner-operator side of things. So I've seen the good, the bad, and ugly of both sides. Company driver and owner-operator side of it. Now, I don't call myself a full-fledged owner-operator simply because I don't run under my own numbers. Got my own truck, but I run under somebody else's numbers, and I pay them a percentage for using their numbers and using their dispatch. So it's like a 50-50 owner-operator type deal. But I've learned a lot, so that when I do decide to get my full authority, my own full authority, I know what to and not to do. That's what I'm gonna share with y'all. So if somebody was to ask me, hey, it's 2024, good time to get my CDL, what would I say? Well, I'm always gonna tell a person, get your CDL, right? Even if you're not gonna use it right now, to have it in your pocket is good to have. Because once you get your CDL, it's not like you have a monthly subscription for it. You gotta keep paying on it. At most, you just have to keep up with your DOT physical every 2 years. But I always tell people, if you got opportunity to get your CDL, even if you're not gonna use it right now, still get it and maintain it so you can have it as a fallback plan in case you need it. Because you never know when you might need it. The piggies right now. In case you're wondering what I currently do, I haul feed to a pig farm. So as long as y'all are still eating pork and eating bacon, I got work. If I'll stop doing that, I might be in trouble. But that's what I do. Oh, the bin's almost full. Let's swap these out real quick. We'll close this one up. That one's empty. Oh, no, man. Still got a little bit more in there. So in case you're wondering what type of trailer this is, it's called a Stinger trailer or feed trailer. Inside each of these compartments, there is a drop chute. This controls it. So this opens, turns, and that chute opens up. The feed falls from the top down to the bottom where there is a auger, floor auger. And that auger pushes it all the way to the back and then pushes it up in there. And then it goes into our bin here. Just in case you're wondering how this works. Oh, I didn't realize I was so close, my bad. Safety latch, take that off, crank it up about halfway, and let the feed fall from the top down to the auger. The auger runs all the way to the back, where a second auger catches it, vertical auger, and runs it up into the bins. Might be less windier, but I think it's just as noisy. If you don't know, the type of trailer I run has to hook to a hydraulic system. You have to have a PTO in there, a hydraulic pump. And so in the cab of the truck, you have to idle up some, as well as that pump has to work. So if you hear a lot of whining noise, it's just that hydraulic pump pushing the hydraulics through the lines to work our trailer as we get unloaded. Might crack the window so I can listen, because you can kind of hear when it's getting empty and I gotta open up another compartment. But like I said, my situation was different when I got my first truck. I can't speak on the lease purchasing program. I see a lot of people is doing that now. I'm not too familiar with that because I've never done it. I never talked to anybody who's been in one, so I can't speak on that side of it. I can just speak from my own personal experience and the journey I took to get mine. So my first truck was a 2018 Kenworth T680. Beautiful truck. Nice, modern truck on the inside, very spacious, looks good. And when I first got it, man, it ran beautifully. I actually went all the way to Pennsylvania to get it. It was not my original plan. My plan was to have a budget of $50,000 to get a truck. I didn't want to get a truck over $50,000. I originally wanted to try to get it through my bank. My bank wanted me to have a 650 credit score to work with me, and at the time I only had like a 630, 625. And they was like, well, wait a year, come back in a year, and we'll reevaluate you then. But I'm stubborn, man. When I got my mind on something, it ain't changing. I just find another way to get it done. And that's what I did. So I started researching, going through different dealerships. Yeah, dealerships to get you approved for it. But man, at that time, and probably still is, the interest rates were through the roof. Interest rates was crazy. And I was not going to pay what they wanted as far as interest. Some of the interest was like 18 to 23% interest. So if I borrowed $40,000 for a truck, I end up paying back double that, like $80,000. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to spend $40,000 on spend $80,000 on a $40,000 truck. Now, if I get a $40,000, if I spend $80,000, I want an $80,000 truck. I end up getting an $80,000 truck. Man, wasn't planning that. Whew. Lord, where do I start with that one? So, couldn't go through my bank. I went online searching all kind of places that work with people with low credit, bad credit, no credit, and I found a company that was out of the East Coast, and they don't base your credit for your loan. They base it off of you. Are you going to work? Do you have a history of working? Stuff like that. So I contacted them on the truck that I wanted here locally, but that deal fell through because they ended up selling the truck before I could get the money. So the finance company called me and said, hey, we know of a place that has a truck that we think would be a good fit for you. So they sent me pictures of the truck. I'm doing all my due diligence. I watch so many YouTube videos on what to ask, what to look for, stuff like that when it comes to a truck. Oh, hold on, sound like our bin is empty. I hear it rattling. Let's open up another one. Hope that sun ain't too shiny. That's one thing I hate about here, man. Flies and gnats. Golly. Gotta fight gnats and flies all day long. But that's my last one. Should be the last one. Let's get back inside. So they called me up and they said, hey, we got a truck that we think will be perfect for you. Took pictures of it, asked all the questions. At the time, I don't really know a lot. You know, I've been a company driver this whole time. And everybody who knows, when you're a company driver, yes, you know how to do certain stuff to get you out of certain situations mechanically wise to a truck, but 85% of the time when it breaks down, you're gonna call the company because it's their problem. So a lot of mechanical stuff I wasn't too sure, just some of the basic questions I've seen other people ask on YouTube. So long story short, I'll give y'all the full version of this story in a different video. Long story short, I get the truck, drive it back home. It ran good for about a good 150,000 miles maybe. And then the devil started coming out of this truck. Whatever demon was in that truck, boy, it started coming out. Man, I know I say we, because my wife has been a big supporter financially and mentally getting into this trucking business as far as the owner-operator side of it. We spent at least a good 10 grand in 1 month on that truck. Went and picked it up from the shop. After giving that shop almost 10 grand, I drove it not even 50 miles and it went right back down again. Ended up having to take it to Kenworth. Kenworth had it for like 2 weeks, doing all kind of stuff, changing everything, still couldn't get it figured out. I knew it was bad when they said, because it had a PACCAR engine in it, when they told me that their top technician who specializes on PACCAR engines couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, I knew it was bad. Oh, it was bad. It was bad, buddy. They finally ended up changing a whole bunch of stuff. Still didn't fix the problem, so their final solution was a wiring harness on top of what they've already done. I'm already at $13,000 owed to Kenworth, and the truck still isn't fixed, still isn't running. Now with this new issue, they tell me, hey, this right here gotta fix your problem, but it's gonna bring your final total up to $22,000 to get this truck out. This brings me to my first point. If you're getting into the trucking business of getting your own truck, make sure you have a safety net. Before I got into this, I would watch guys on YouTube say, hey, you need at least a good $15,000 to $30,000 either saved or have access to that when you get into it, at least for your first year. I'm like, yeah, need that much. $5,000, $10,000. Let it get me over, you know, until I make some more money off this truck. Boy, was I wrong. No, sir. They came back with that $22,000 bill after I had already spent my little $10,000, I thought, safety net. Oh, sir, that's not enough. Not enough. So I reached out to the company that I was financing the truck through. Thankfully, they was nice. They could have did me dirty. They could have came for everything I had. They could have took me to court. They could have still made me liable because the paperwork said that I was buying this truck as is, and I'm going to, you know, I'm responsible for it once I sign the paperwork. But they was nice enough. They was like, hey, if you want, we'll pay the bill. We'll get your truck out, and then you just start over from scratch, you know, with the truck. But I was like, no, because even before this, I had so many issues with that truck that I was done. I was tired. I've learned a lot from that truck that I didn't want to deal with again. So my mind was already set that I want a different truck. I want something else. Something that is completely different from what I had. Which brings me to another point. If you're thinking about getting your own truck, becoming an operator, when you do your research on these trucks, you already know to find out how many miles on it, what kind of engine it has, the history behind it, stuff like that. But something else you need to keep in mind when you're looking at trucks is when you find out what kind of engine it is, you also need to start calling a lot of the mechanic shops that you plan on using to make sure they can work on that truck. Okay, that was the biggest issue I had with mine. The engine was great. The engine had just been rebuilt. It was a rebuilt engine in that truck. It was a PACCAR engine. Nice engine. The engine never gave me any trouble. It was everything around the engine that started going bad. But the engine itself was good, but my issue was there was nobody in my area that could work on a PACCAR engine. So my troubles came from trying to find a mechanic that could even work on the truck. So every time I had something major, every time I had to hook up to a computer, guess where I had to go? Kenworth. And boy, Kenworth do not play with them prices. Kenworth is busting you upside your head every time you come in now. Okay? If they got to hook up to a computer, $100. That's just a hookup fee. That's not telling you what's wrong with it. They're just a hookup to it. Then after that, you got to pay diagnostics. And I think now, last time I called, the guy told me they're charging $220 an hour, minimum 1 hour. So now you're already at $320, and you don't even know what the problem is yet. So, yeah, find you a mechanic. Whatever truck you gonna get, find you a mechanic. All right, we are done. Let's make sure everything is closed. Make sure we ain't got no more open compartments. Everything is closed. Shut her down. And we will rack her up. All right, that's a done deal. Let's get out of here.